Well, you know what? I didn't get paid for years. And my first, in production, I'm still waiting. There's been a lot of people that have ripped me off. I'm probably owed near $1 million by labels when, back in the day, like signing contracts on the front of people's cars, you know, like, oh, you could have my publishing, it's fine, you know, not knowing anything about the business side of things. So I probably like, you know, put myself out of a lot of money production-wise. So it's very hard to get paid for your production. Now, obviously, it's a different thing. DJing, the first time I got paid was probably 3 or 4 years after I'd started DJing, because in those days, it wasn't like that. You would just, it was a privilege to play, and it still is as far as I'm concerned, you know, and it's like, you still have to do it for the fun of it, which is why it never fails to amaze me when you meet a new artist and you think they're good, and the first thing they ask is like, you know, so what do I get paid? And I'm just like, it's amazing the amount of people who want to get paid first rather than the love of the music. So the first time I got paid, it's great. I mean, you know, I'm thankful every day that I really do think about this every day, how lucky I am that I don't have a really crap job that sucks. Nearly swore again. And you know, I'm grateful, I'm very aware of that. I'm totally happy with that. I'm not so concerned now with the end result like I used to. I used to be like, oh, when I make it, and now I'm just like, you know what, as long as I spend my whole life doing what I love, that's a gift enough. It's good. I think that like any record that you're proud of, I'm just trying to make pieces of work that I am proud of forever, and that I hope kind of classic in the respect that they'll still be played. You know, like the Armani CD, which I think we've done over 80,000 copies of that now with Palash. That was a fantastic CD because A, it was classic house. It gave me a chance to showcase like the music that got me into this scene in like the 80s, you know what I mean, before drum and bass was invented and all that stuff. So that was super important. Bulletproof, all my drum and bass work I'm extremely proud of. I just completed a new drum and bass album, which is, as far as I'm concerned, the best music I've ever made. So I'm really happy with that, but it's more mellow. So every album is like, it's like a little baby and you're really proud of it. But Learning Curve definitely is the best thing I ever did, because, and not because like it sold like what now over 1 million copies, which for a dance record is really cool, but just because I was one of the first people to push that envelope, cross pop over with, you know, electronic, and although I got a lot of slack for it and a lot of criticism at the same time, I got 3.5 stars in Rolling Stone. I'm happy. It was good. It's good. That for me was because it was adventurous. Took a lot of guts to do it, and you know, I shipped to leave the country because so many people gave me so much crap. But you know, I moved to America because it was so well received here that I was like, well, you know what? Then I'll make my next record here and work here. So it was a bittersweet thing. So it was successful in some ways, and in other ways it was like, it was also quite hard. You know, I honestly think that like a lot of people have thought maybe it's a problem to keep moving, and but I'm all about like reinventing myself all the time. I think that the most amazing woman in this industry is Madonna, and the reason being is that she is in this game for so many years. And I think that for me to start off I started off as a house producer, house DJ, but on a small format. No one really knew what I'd done, even though my first record was with Oakenfold and, you know, a bunch of stuff like that. Then to progress to drum and bass, because it was technically the most challenging music that there is, and it was like such a boys club. I was just totally intrigued and wanted to penetrate that world. It was like, yeah, Can't lives on Won't Street. It was like, you can't make drum and bass, go and be pretty over there. I was like, I can, and I will, and I'll annoy you. So it was, there it was, and you know, and then moving on to back now to house and rediscovering my passion for DJing again. It's such a huge way, and to be totally embraced. And this is where I'm like, this is a privilege. Like, not only do I have a second shot at a career, which, you know, drum and bass is hard music to survive off. It's a small entity. It doesn't pack clubs out the way it used to. So it's like, it's very hard to survive on that, you know, financially and emotionally. I need to perform in front of people, you know, I need it. And so it's like, it's that kind of thing, and I crave attention in that respect, so I have to have it. And it's like being able to have a second shot at the big room, because back in the day, drum and bass would pull 10, 20,000 people to an arena. It was huge. And then it all like, you know, and so it's like, very different. So to have that opportunity again, to be able to play all over the world is great. So my sound as a DJ has totally evolved from, I think I started off, because I was in Chicago when I started experimenting with the house thing again. It went from filter disco, and you know, I toured with Ferry, and so, as we call him, Furry, and so it was good. And you know, I experimented with trance, and then it took, I think, really 2 years to get to this point where I exactly love my sound, but it still evolves. You know, someone will come through with a new sound, like, you know, Robbie or one of the big guys, and you'll just be blown away. That's the DJing stuff. sonically, production-wise, I'm experimenting with producing house now. Like I said, I just finished a drum and bass album. I have a follow-up to Learning Curve is finished, so that's a total rock album, and it's actually going to be a solo project. So that's going to be under the name Shreesa Severia, my real name, and it's a total rock record, and I'm loving it. I'm playing guitar on it, piano. There's everything on there, and it's all about the songs. So I think I've changed a lot and grown, which I think should be the case. You know, who wants to stay stuck in the same, you know, position forever? I think that the most important thing that I've learned is to have your paperwork in order. Like, you know, but I won't write with someone unless we have a writer's agreement, a producer's agreement, the paperwork is done. It is amazing how many people still work on a handshake, and I'm all for that until you get screwed, and you know, I've had enough of that. So therefore, for me, the most important thing is to make sure you have a great lawyer, which I do. Who's also my manager, so that's great. I think that's the most important thing, is to cover your back. You know, make sure that you're taken care of in that respect. And because honestly, you don't know how many hits you're going to write. And when I sit and think of all the drum and bass records that I made that sold, you know, 50, 60, 70,000 copies, I probably 20 hits in the 90s, and never got paid for any of them. I'm just like, oh, that's like so many pairs of shoes. You know, and so seriously though, like, you know, that is very important. That's my advice to anybody. Make sure you understand the business side of it. It's very important. So I'm totally proficient in that side now, which is great.
Tell us about the experience when you have the crowd in your hands, and just the energy comes up, the sound comes up, that the build, that one moment in the night where everything comes together and the whole room just explodes. Tell us about how that feels.
Honestly, it's pretty emotional, because it is like, this is gonna sound really corny, but it is like being loved by the two most wonderful parents that you never had, and someone is just wrapping their arms around you and just giving you everything that you just never had. And that's why we do it, because I think, I don't know about any other artist, but I don't know one that had a perfect childhood, who was brought up wonderfully loved, and is just like, everyone I know is screwed up, and this was the family they needed. So for me, it was just like, you're getting loved. It's the best, and because you're giving and making it, it's like you're valued. You know, I'm validated every time I get a good response, and you know what? That's what I live for. So it's the best feeling in the world. And why anyone would want to be on drugs when they're having that, it beats me, because there is no better high. It's the greatest. I really feel, and it frustrates me, that like I haven't even started yet. Until that rock record comes out and people see that I am a songwriter and that this is really what I got into it for, to perform and do the most I can. You looking at my t-shirt?
I was checking your...
Don't you love it? Isn't it cool? Like, save a horse, ride a cowboy. I did the whole theme today. I was like, so yeah, everywhere. I don't know. I just feel that, I tell you, the good thing is that I really wanted to be famous. And now, having lived in LA for like 4 years, I realized that I really just want to perform and do my art, and that whole other side of it it's not for me, you know what I mean? So, do I love performing? Yes. Do I want to perform till I can't walk anymore? Absolutely. Do I want to be famous and not be able to walk anywhere? No, that sucks. Just want to like have a quiet life, meet a great guy, raise some rugrats in a farm, and probably like open some kind of camp for kids where I can teach them how to DJ and learn the business stuff and produce and do all that. In fact, that's probably what I'm going to do. So that's the plan for the future, if I'm still allowed to live. Please God.